Hi, welcome to Sheepish, episode 14. Today is Sunday, March 3rd, 2013. Oh my God, it's March. I'm Holly, I'm your host, and welcome. As you might be able to see, I have a different co-host this week than I normally have. This is the other cat that lives in our house. His name's Jimmy, named after Jim Morrison. Yeah, and there he goes. He's my parents' cat. We've had him since I was 16. And he was a kitten. So yeah, he'll be 21 in April. You do the math on that. We're going to do something a little different this week because I'm still having issues with my video and my audio not syncing up all the time. So I'm thinking it's happening in the compression stages. So I'm going to actually record these segments separately, and I'm going to weave them together. I haven't figured out how I'm going to weave them together yet, but they will come together in post. So just wanted to give you a little heads up that something's going to be a little different. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started by welcoming our new members. So we've got a few new members this week. So welcome to Free Flower from Texas, Super Steph, so Stacy from Texas, Steph from Texas, Carolyn from Mississippi, Brigitte from Aalborg, Denmark. I really hope I said that correctly. Rosemarie from Texas, Mariette from Texas and or Maine. She has both listed. Nicole from British Columbia, Canada. Jean from Virginia, actually from right around here, so hi. Val from Pennsylvania. Judy from Texas. And Chris from North Carolina. So welcome, everybody. I hope that you enjoy what you see. Thanks for joining the group. Speaking of the group, thank you guys for giving me some feedback on tutorials, as well as what podcasts you actually watch. I'd love to see more of that. Crafty Debbie, your post about how mine was the first podcast you watched was very, very sweet and came at a very good time last week. You really did make my day. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. And if you've contributed, thank you so much. I've gotten a few messages asking about possibly doing tutorials or reviews, and I'd love to do that. I'd love to get some feedback on what you guys would like to see. I definitely want to do a needle review comparing a few different types of needles, and since I use sock needles mostly because I knit lots of socks, I'm thinking that that's probably going to be a review that I will do next, and I will probably make that a standalone review or a standalone episode, so a special, because there might be a lot to say about it. I don't know. We'll see. But let me know what you think. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's get started with the current roster. Currently on the roster, we've got essentially the same stuff that we had last week. So we'll start off with, I know Chronic Knitter's favorite, Visalia pullover. Oops. So it's still in a similar state as it was last week. I haven't made much progress on it at all. I've still only got maybe 3 more. I think it's only 3 more knit plain rounds before I start decreasing. But it's lovely. It's beautiful. One of these days I'll finish it. This is actually going to go with me. It's going to be one of my projects that I take with me on my work trip this next week. So maybe it'll get some train time. But yeah, that's living in my yarn pop. Oh, I forget what they call this bag, but it's basically the shoulder bag. It's got grommets on the front. I love it. So that's in that. The Celestarium, I don't know why I'm showing it to you. It's got no love at all this past week. I know, but it's so pretty. So pretty. This is in Skein Yarns BFL in the pearl colorway, and it's being knit using US4 Haya sharps. So I'm loving it. It really is an easy knit. It's just a matter of sitting down and working on it. Because really when you're beading, while it's not that hard to bead, and I'm actually using the super floss method of beading, it's just a little inconvenient to carry it all around. But yeah, so that's living in the Yarn Pop Gadgety bag. And I know I said you weren't going to see much of this, and you're not going to see much of this on the podcast. However, I did make some good progress on the first sock of my new design. I'm actually in the middle of starting for the heel. Oh, that's a really good representation of the blue. It is, quick view of the front. It is the String Theory Colorworks, Dyeworks, hand dyes. I think it's String Theory hand dyes. Their caper sock base in Snow White Stress, and this was from a yarn club that I was in through Wool Girl, based on fairy tales, hence Snow White Stress. However, I think Snow White Stress is perfect TARDIS blue, and if you see, you can see some of the variations, like you've got some lighter blues, some darker blues. I'm really sorry about the manicure. I didn't have time to get one. But you see all the different blues. I think it kind of represents all of the different TARDISes. Because Matt Smith's TARDIS is a little brighter blue than David Tennant's or Christopher Eccleston's. And I know that that's a little brighter. We've had brighter and darker in the old Who. So, yeah, I'm making some good progress on this. Right now, I'm kind of zenning the heel. I'm working with using a couple of different pattern formulas on on gusset heels for toe-up socks. Wendy's got some good guidelines in her Toe-Up Socks for Everyone book, as well as the Not Another Hat blog, I believe, yeah, did a simple toe-up 2 circs formula that I found when I was trying to look up how to write a heel, and the formula actually seems to be working well. At least I've got the numbers. And because this is on an odd set of numbers, I'm kind of trying to figure out if the heel is going to sit properly or not. We'll see. If I have to rip the heel, the gusset out, and start that part again and just move around some stitches, I'll do that. I'm trying to avoid doing it, though. So, yeah, that's this. It's made some decent progress. I'm hoping that I can get through the heel and back in the round in the next day or so. And when I do that, I can write that up and I can get that out to a few very generous people who've offered to test knit and see if my numbers are actually working. I mean, they work for me, but I know what I'm going to say. So, and that's living in my Jessa Lou Gallifrey TARDIS bag because, you know, it's got to tie in. Love. So there's that. Sorry if I'm coming in extreme close-up. Remember those Wayne's World days? Am I that old? When they go up to the camera, extreme close-up? Yeah. Okay, maybe I'm just that old. Anyway, the last thing that's currently on the roster, and it's brand new to the roster, is the Bow Ties Are Cool socks. They are by Mandy Harrington. And it's a free pattern on Rab. Oops, as I get my hands out of the way. And I am knitting this as part of the Knitting in Circles knit along. They're doing a March Pop Culture Madness knit along. So, yeah. The knit along started on March 1st. I talked about this in the last podcast. Full disclosure, I actually had cast on for these socks before, ripped them out, and cast them on again at midnight on March 1st. So it's the 3rd now. I really only worked on it March 1st and a little bit of yesterday. So I've made some good progress. You can't really see the stitch pattern, although that's a really good representation of the red. It's a little brighter. It's a little more orangey red than my other red, although in this light right here, it looks fairly blue. The yarn that I'm using is it's the Uncommon Thread. It's their BFL sock, which is 100% superwash blue face luster, about 400 meters, so approximately 440 yards in the Debauchery colorway. And I got this at my LYS at Fiberspace. This is 1/2 of the ball. Normally I don't, especially with semi-solids, break my balls in half. However, when I was winding this, I don't know if it's when I cut one of the ties or if it just had a knot that was really loose and came apart. But it came basically as I'm using my winder or my Swift, all of a sudden I had no slack on the yarn at all, and it just kind of kept coming free. And I realized, oh, I have a free ball, and I have about half of it left. So I went ahead, wound the other ball, weighed them, and they are within like 5 grams of each other. Yeah, 5 grams of each other. So they're it's pretty well divided up. I know me. I'm going to have leftovers of this. I'm fine with that. I haven't decided if I'm going to start the second sock using whatever's left of this ball and just join in the yarn from the next ball, or if I'm just going to do 1 sock per ball. We'll see. But yeah, it's a really easy knit. I'm kind of zenning the pattern now because it's just the same few rows over and over again. And you can really tell where you are in the pattern. And if for some reason you've knit around too many, you can tell. I have had to tink back, or I tinked back on the original sock twice because I did that. Because I was like, oh, that doesn't look like, oh, it was. Yeah. So, bow ties are cool. Again, it's a Doctor Who reference. This is a reference to the 11th Doctor, the current Doctor, Matt Smith, who wears a bow tie, a red bow tie. You know, also, yeah. So there is that. For my, and I didn't say this in my, when I was talking about my other sock. Oh, sorry. Before I forget, these are being knit on the Hiya Sharps, the US ones, or 1.5s. I don't know if we can see that. No. No. No, but the Hiya Sharps US 1.5s. My design sock, which is going to have a Doctor Who reference to it, for the 10th Doctor, those are being knit on US 1 carbon needles. The Knitter's Pride, I think, they're carbons. And I was teaching a private lesson in socks today, and I had some people who were asking what I thought of the different needles, which is what, when I first got the carbons, it's what originally made me think of possibly doing a review of the different types of needles I use. And I've got to say, I'm really liking them. I'm liking them in the sock sizes. I have not tried them in any other sizes. I need to put that down before I poke myself. I've not tried them in any of the other sizes. I probably will at some point. They're not that expensive. So they've got a good price point to them, but they're super lightweight, which is really nice to know. So you're not adding any extra weight to your project. So yeah, I'm thinking of doing that. Let me know what you think. I'm going to go ahead and just add in before I break for the next segment. In my alumni roster, no, nothing. One of these days I'll have something more to add to it. Hopefully it'll be socks, because those are the smallest and those tend to get lots and lots of knitting done on them. I will be taking both sets of socks with me as well, because, yeah, I can't just have one pair of socks with the needles. Who am I? So let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so I can't remember what I originally called this segment, if it was stick holding or stick handling. I'm going to go with stick handling, because why not? Because there's been some progress. Not very good progress, as you can see, or as you might be able to see. It's really wonky. You've got very thick, very thin pieces all over this. But it's lovely to work with. This is my Highland Handmaids mixed BFL, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember the colorway, and I was not smart enough to put it in my show notes from 2 weeks ago. But I dragged it out. I need to find the label. It's somewhere. But I dragged it out so I could work on it, and it's just gorgeous. You can see the black BFL and how that took the dye, and oh, so pretty. And if you look on there, like, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but right up there, yeah, there you go. You can see a little bit of green. When I started, I apparently started on a small green area and then went into this orangey, browny area. So there's been a lot of this, not a lot of the green. But that's okay. I know I get frustrated with myself because I want this to be perfect. I'm far from that. And I know that the only way that I'm going to even come close is by practicing more and doing a little bit every night. I need to make time for it. Now, I still believe that with my impatience, I might be better served with a wheel, but I'm waiting to try and see if I can rent one from one of the local yarn shops in the area and get some time with that and get some lessons before I go out and just magically buy one. But yeah, so yay! There's been a little bit of progress. I'm knocking at least one braid out of my fiber stash yeah. So yeah, hooray! There's been some spinning. So that brings us to scouting reports. I've actually been pretty good lately. I know you guys have seen a few things here and there, but for the most part, I've been pretty good about buying yarn and fiber. But I managed to catch, not even really catch an update, I just kind of looked, and saw that Hiwassee Creek Dye Works had a few pretties up. I kind of fell down, went boom. And I'm sorry I'm not taking these out of the packages, but they're just so prettily wrapped up. Although this is going to result in more crinkling, so sorry. But this is, oh, if you avoid that glare, that's a really good representation. This is the Hiwassee Creek's Lodge sock. Okay, I'm just going to open this. In tonal. Sand dune, and it's a tonal. The color is sand dune. And this is their 80-10-10 MCN. And it's a fingering weight yarn. And it's approximately 432 yards. It's MCN. I love MCN. I will not be knitting this into socks. I don't care that it's a fingering. And I don't care that people will swear up and down that you can knit socks out of an MCN. Yes, you can absolutely knit socks out of an MCN, but it kind of hurts my heart a little to think about putting cashmere on my feet. So this is going to end up at some point being a shawlette. It's gorgeous. And I mean, I just kind of ripped the bag open so I could get to the tag, but it's so pretty and gorgeous and soft. Yeah. This is going to have to be something nice. And if I can find something that I could stripe with it, then maybe I can make a nice big shawl or color block, something like that. I don't know. We'll see. So that was the Lodge sock. And then, again, sorry for the crinkling. I'm just taking out tags at this point. This is the Hiwassee Creek Dye Works sassafras socks. So they're self-striping, just like my my Winter Wonderland socks that I did. And this is the Argentia colorway. And this is 390 yards of a merino nylon blend, so 80-20. And it's different color grays and this beautiful, beautiful natural color. So you've got like a dark gray and then a lighter gray and then this natural color. So I'm interested to see how this is going to work up. These may be socks for somebody. I've had somebody who's been bugging me for socks. Yes, Mom, you know that it's you. And yes, my mother watches. So these may be socks for Mom, unless she absolutely hates the colors, at which point, well, then we'll go and stash dye for other socks. Those will probably go on the needles at some point soon-ish because I need some good hockey knitting that I don't have to think about. And then lastly, the Hiwassee Creek Dye Works. Again, another sassafras sock because apparently I never saw a self-striping yarn that I didn't like. And this crazy, bright self-striping yarn. Oh my god, it's just full of happy. And it's called, appropriately, Rainbow Bright. Again, 390 yards, 80-20 superwash merino wool. Yeah, now, this side I think is even better. You can see some of the purples and the blues. And if you were into Rainbow Bright, if you were a child of the 80s like I was, and into Rainbow Bright, all of these colors were on the doll. The only thing that's missing is the bright yellow of her hair. But you've got this bright, like, orangey kind of a yellow. It's like an orangey yellow, so it's not a true orange. And, yeah, they're cute and obnoxious, and I love them. Yeah. These make me all sorts of happy. And finally, I know, there's not much. And this was already paid for. Cloud Lover. Remember that I decided to go for her 3-month fiber club. This is the 3rd month. And this is February 2013's color, Poison Arrow, and it's done in a Polworth. Yeah, see, stuff like this is why I want a wheel. Because I would spin this thin and it would be even, or that would be my hope. Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say that, yeah, there's a small part of me that just hopes that one day when I finally splurge and get that wheel, that everything will just be perfect. And I will be a super spinner. Yeah. Touched in the head. Yeah. But yeah, this is lovely, and it needs to be spun at some point because pretty. And would this not make a beautiful, beautiful shawlette? I might need to bribe friends who spin. I might have a sickness. Okay, so that brings us to what's making me happy this week. Slash week in review. It's been a pretty stressful week this week. Just really, really busy and frustrating, and I'm dealing with issues that, I warned people about in the past, about a year ago. Luckily, I found out, and it's not like I didn't know this before, but it's nice to have confirmation that your boss likes you and has your back. Because as I'm getting vented at by somebody fairly important, and I'm now then talking to my boss about it, she's calling a meeting and saying, Holly warned you about this. Why aren't we doing this? So it's nice to know that she has my back, but it resulted in a very stressful week. I've also been weirdly tired all week. Generally for me, when I go home, like Friday night, I was just feeling so run down from the entire week that I went home and I came home and I took a nap. I slept for about 2.5 hours, which is unusual. It's unusual for me to take a nap when I get home because that's just not me. It screws up my sleep schedule. But when I woke up from that nap, I was still exhausted. It was like I'd had no sleep. So, I got up, I ate, I forced myself to do things and go back to bed at a normal time, which is still early for me, but normal time for most people. But for me, that's a sign that I'm sick. When my body does the shutdown like that, it's generally a sign that I'm sick, and I hadn't been taking care of myself. So, yeah, I'm feeling better now. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping it was just exhaustion, that my body just needed time to shut down. But I'm hoping, that's all it was. And that I'm not actually getting sick, because I can't afford to do that. Not with 2 work trips coming up. And yeah, so speaking of that, I'm actually going to be, I will be recording next week. I will probably be recording, if I don't record on Saturday of next week, I will record on Sunday. I might record on Saturday. I'm not really pushing it if I don't. I may record on Sunday when I get to the hotel. I will be in Atlantic City, staying on the boardwalk in one of the cheesiest hotels. Yeah, I'll explain more later. I'll explain more next week when I can actually give you a tour of the room, probably. If it's where I stayed, if the room's anything like the rooms I stayed in last time, yeah. Oh, yeah. But I am looking forward to that. I'm actually leaving Sunday afternoon. I should get up there late Sunday afternoon, and I can relax, get some work done before the seminar on Monday. And I'll be there Monday and Tuesday and come back Tuesday night. but yeah, so what else is making me happy? Because I do love work trips. I'm not jaded yet. And it's one of the reasons why my boss is like, you're not jaded. You can absolutely do work trips. So what else is making me happy? I put this on the Ravel group when I started the Pimp Your Podcast thread, or Pimp Somebody's Podcast. I found on Clerk last week, was it last week or was it the week before? Wow. A new podcast. They've just recorded episode 1, and when I found them, they did episode 0. So it was like the pre-episode to episode 1. And it's called the Mustache Podcast. Hosted by Stacy and Steph. So hosted by Stacy and Steph from Texas, from San Antonio, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they can be found at must-stash, so must-stash.blogspot.com. And they've got the cutest profile pictures because they both have mustaches on. And they're just really sweet. They look like they have a lot of fun while recording. And it's a lot of fun watching them. They are both knitters, spinners, crocheters, and I'm looking at their spinning going, I really want to spin like them. Because that's what I watch. I watch a lot of people when I watch podcasts who spin. Who spin like I want to spin. I mean, yes, I watch a lot of people who knit like I want to knit, because that's just what you do. But I watch a lot of people who spin like I want to spin. Only I have to aspire to that a little bit more. I need to work on it. Yeah. Oh, hi, George. Everybody, George has decided to join me. Hi. So, yeah, that's part of what's making me happy this week. Other than that, I'm teaching a bunch of new knitters how to knit on Saturdays, and they are all so excited, and new knitters, you remember being a new knitter and how daunting it felt and how strange it felt with needles and yarn. And I love that these knitters are, they're a little nervous, but they're all doing really well. Yesterday was our first lesson, so they learned how to cast on, and I made them rip it out a bunch of times before they learned how to knit, before I let them go to that next step. I had one person in the class who kept insisting on ripping her small little swatch out because she wasn't happy with how it looked. And I'm fine with that. I kind of say embrace the mistakes, but if you were going to concentrate on that even in your very first practice swatch, absolutely rip it out. It gives you more practice in casting on. So, yeah. That's making me really happy. I love to teach new knitters. Also, I mentioned it earlier, I had a private lesson with 3 people today on socks. And so I'm giving them a crash course in how to knit socks from the toe up. And I wrote a very simple, like, baby sock worsted weight pattern. I wrote it up in like less than an hour last night. I'm like, okay, these are the numbers. This is how you write a heel. Boom. Just for today. And they were great. Two of them had knit, well, they'd all knit socks before, but they'd never done it from the toe up. 2 of them caught on fairly easy. 1 didn't, and that's okay. It took her a little bit longer to get it, but she was going to town when we were done. Not everybody catches on as quickly, and that's just because everybody learns differently. But it was great. I had a lot of fun. It made it worth getting up this morning because I really didn't want to leave my warm bed. But yeah, love it. Yeah, teaching definitely is what's making me happy this week. So, yeah, I didn't watch the Oscars. I like flipped back and forth. I didn't watch them. I've done a lot of reading. Right now I'm reading Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I think I might be the only person that's not really into it. The subject matter, absolutely. I love that time in British history. You know, I've done a lot of research on the Tudor monarchy. But there's just something about how it's written that it's just not, I'm not meshing with it. I don't know. I'm giving it a good shot. I mean, I'm halfway through it. I will finish it. And I will read the second book in the series, Bring Up the Bodies. Because again, it's something that, it's a time in British history that I know a lot about and I've done a lot of research on. It's kind of my pet project. So I will do that, but it probably will not come with me next week. And that's a mark that I'm just kind of not into the book, that it's taking so long for me to read it. But I'm giving it a good try, and sometimes it just takes a lot to get through that. But yeah. So I'm going to probably bring light reading, like Persuasion or something like that, something Jane Austen-y. But yeah, so that's about it for me this week. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're brand new, thanks for giving me a try. I hope you found something that you liked here and that you'll come back. If you'd like to reach me during the week, I am sheepishpodcast@gmail.com. I am on Twitter and on Plurk as Sheepish Podcast. And I am on Ravelry as Knit Girl, spelled conventionally. Wow. KNITGIRL. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great week.